you noted, you represented some candidates in 2013 after the 2013 elections.
Yes, Chairman.
I don't know whether how did your clients fare in those representations?
We resolved some of the disputes amicably, and the petitions were withdrawn. And I lost in one, and I think I won in one. There were 5 in number. 3 were resolved amicably.
Okay. And
but I must also mention that I had also my own petition in which I defended myself and won.
And there was a by-election?
It was a pre-election dispute, but which also ended up in court.
Okay, thank you. Madam Linda?
Thank you, Chairman.
Just remember, he said he's conversant with the geography of Kenya, at least 80% of it.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Mr. Ngeiwa.
Yes, Madam.
You have a professional background of legal, in terms of legal basis. That is your professional background.
Yes.
The composition of the IEBC in respect of the commissioners as well as the chairperson, and the IEBC Act directs, or rather demands, that each one of them should have different professional backgrounds so that they can be able to form a formidable team to run the businesses of the commission. Now, besides the legal profession, do you bring into the commission any other skills apart from your legal background?
I bring experience in governance. I bring experience in management, leadership.
In addition to that, Mr. Ngeiwa, do you have any competencies that can help you to fulfill the duties and obligations of a chairperson of the IEBC Commission?
As I've mentioned, I'm a certified secretary, and therefore have knowledge in, I'm a compliance expert, legal, financial. I'm one of the resource persons who engage with even auditors when they audit our institution.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Just as a follow-up to one of the questions, you talked about your capacity in governance. Do you want to just elaborate that a bit?
Honorable Chair, like I've said, I've undertaken a lot of work in public participation, in civic education, and generally enforcing our values and principles under Article 10 of the Constitution, in the process of the legislative processes, in the process of budget making, in the process of procurement. I provide advice to ensure that the processes are compliant with the Constitution, the law, and other requirements of governance.
Madam Carol?
Thank you very much, Chairman, and good evening once more.
Good evening,
Mr.
Madam.
Ngeiwa. I would like you, I'm sure that you conversant with geography.
Just raise your voice a bit, Madam.
You indicated that you are conversant with geography. I would like us to have a conversation about the mandate of the IBC insofar as boundaries are concerned. So the Constitution stipulates that IBC must undertake boundaries review and delimitation every 12 years. This was supposed to happen 12 years post 2010 Constitution, which obviously we already passed that time frame, right? So in your view, what would be the urgent things? Should you be successful in this application? Should you be successful in this application? What would be the urgent thing that you engage in to ensure that that specific mandate of the IBC, insofar as boundaries delimitation is concerned, has been achieved?
Okay, thank you, Madam. Unfortunately, there's a gap. The Constitution doesn't provide expressly what is to be done in view of the fact that the timelines have passed. So if given the opportunity, we shall look for a way either through a constitutional amendment or an advisory opinion of the Supreme Court so that we validate the process.
Apart from going that long route of seeking a constitutional amendment or an advisory opinion from the Supreme Court, what is within the powers of the IBC? What can you, as the chair of the IBC, use, through policy frameworks or any other existing instrument at the disposal of IBC that would be available to ensure that that crisis or the challenge that we have now, that boundaries have not been reviewed past the constitutional framework, is achieved? Is there anything that the IBC can do outside going to court, the Supreme Court, and seeking a constitutional amendment?
There's the doctrine of necessity where an act which would otherwise be illegal can be validated because it must be done. So perhaps I'll seek legal advice on whether the IEBC on its own motion can enforce the doctrine of necessity or whether it requires validation of the court.
Maybe to help, have you read the report of the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO report?
Yes, I've read it.
What did it recommend in terms of circumventing that legal challenge?
I concentrated on their proposal to have a constitutional amendment. Perhaps I've not looked at that other part.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, let's come back to the issues on the constitutional amendments. The Constitution can be amended in two different ways, right? Through the popular initiative or through the parliamentary initiative. So let's speak a little bit about the parliamentary initiative. How is that process supposed to look like, particularly given that there is no law currently that guides that process? If tomorrow if you become the chairperson of the IBC and tomorrow there is a parliamentary process to amend the Constitution, how would you read that process as the chair of the IBC? What guidance would you provide, within the existing frameworks, in the absence of the law?
Now, it will depend on the nature of the amendment. If it is an amendment which does not touch on the matters mentioned in Article 255(1), then upon Parliament amending, passing the bill to amend the Constitution, the President will assent to the bill and it will become law. If it's a matter touching on falling under Article 255(1), then upon the President assenting the bill, then you submit forward the bill to the IEBC, and then the process of a referendum will follow.
That's right where the challenge is. There is no law that guides those processes.
Yeah.
But now the process, remember, there was an amendment, an amendment to amend the Constitution through the popular initiative, despite the fact that there was no existing legal framework. So my concern, my question to you is, in the absence of this legal framework, what are those processes that you foresee that IBC must put in place or must undertake to carry out the amendment process?
Yeah, if the process requires a referendum, because the bill will be forwarded to the county assemblies, and the county assemblies will interrogate the bill. If half of the county assemblies pass the bill, then it's subjected to the referendum process. Perhaps we would do with what is within the Election Act on matters referendum.
Thank you, Mr. Ngewa. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Caro. Koki?
Good evening, Mr. Ngewa, and karibu sana.
Asante sana.
You have interacted, you mentioned that you have interacted with the electoral cycle. Could you start by telling the panel 3 parts or segments of the electoral cycle, please? 3 segments or phases of the electoral cycle.
We have the voter registration. We have the party nominations, and we have the voting and declaration of results.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you some questions around voter suppression. Somebody said that in relation to election rigging or taking away, election rigging, that it is easier to rig an election while it is out there. Like it is easier to steal maize when it is still in the farm than when it is brought in the granary, because when it is in the granary, it is in sacks and it can be counted. But when it's in the shamba, you can just pick here and there and ensure that it cumulatively you have stolen enough of grain. Similarly, in elections, election experts always say that there are many ways in which voter suppression can be done, leading to affecting negatively the outcome of an election. What is your understanding of voter suppression? And can you name 2 ways in which it can be done? Thank you.
Okay, voter rigging may be done even during the registration process, where voters are transferred, where even voters are, potential voters are dissuaded from registering as voters. It can be done through the register by not updating the register. It can be done during party nominations. It can be done through bribery before the elections, and many other ways which go on the ground.
Thank you very much. Lastly, what would be, should we recommend you for nomination for this process? What are some of the opportunities of voter suppression that the Commission should look at, like the ones you have just said, and what measures do you see yourself putting in place to make sure that voter suppression does not occur in Kenya?
Thank you, Chair. The problem we've been having essentially is lack of information among our people on the ground. So one of the measures the Commission or I'll put in place, we shall have a robust strategic communication framework so that the people are informed from even prior to the registration process about their civic rights, about their civic obligations, about the programs of the Commission, the timelines and timings, and their roles. So that by the time we are going to register the voters, we have sufficient, adequate information among the people of what they are supposed to do. We shall also, in that regard, ensure that we undertake comprehensive voter update of the voter register to engage with other agencies of government, including the registration, so that at any given time our register remains as much updated as possible. And then when the people have adequate information, especially disadvantaged groups like BWDs, the marginalized, sometimes because of lack of information, they don't even offer themselves to participate. They don't know their role, the role of the political parties, how they are supposed to get even the nomination slots. That, if you don't participate in party politics, then you don't stand a chance of getting a nomination. So we need to sensitize them in advance so that they take active roles in political parties, and they that way they will secure their rights and chances.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nkewa, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Just to follow up on those questions by Dr. Koki, how is violence used in voter suppression in Kenya?
Violence is a very common occurrence, and of course now violence, mostly people exploit our youth who may not have employment. During the electioneering period, of course, it becomes a business. During campaigns, at funerals. So those who have the resources take advantage of the vulnerability of our youth. Unfortunately, we don't have a law that in place that enforces measures and mechanisms on the use of money that actually is the prerequisite of violence during campaigns.
Okay, thank you. FCP Etanui, would you like to ask your questions?
Thank you, Chair. And karibu tena Bwana Ngeiwa. Now, the IEBC has never had commissioners for almost 2 years now. So if appointed to be the chairperson as you've applied, what are the top risks that you foresee as you take over the reign as a chairperson IEBC?
You see, we are going to be required to undertake work which should have been done in 5 years, in just about 2 years. So the time available is a very serious risk. We are also going to take office when there are a lot of serious pending constitutional issues, including by-elections, including boundary delimitations. And we are also taking up the office when some of these issues like boundary delimitations there's no legal framework. In the event there's a referendum, there's no legal framework. Even about the by-elections, they are time-barred, there are constitutional issues about the timelines. So the risks are enormous.
So the strategies which you will adopt to address those challenges?
In the circumstances, definitely, if we have to do work which ought to have been done in 5 years, in 2 years, then we have to work overtime. We need to enhance capacity. We need to improve on the existing technology. We need to do a lot of strategic planning. We need to engage a lot of stakeholders to assist us, facilitate the processes expeditiously.
Lastly, one of the key features of independent commissions is the issue of a collegial decision-making process, collegiality. So as a chair of IEBC, how would you ensure there is unity and collegiality amongst your commissioners and staff of the commission? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Throughout my work, from the time I was a student, I've been a team player. I ran a student governing council. I've been a chairperson of school boards of management, school boards of governors. I've been a chair of committees within my institution where I work. I'm even currently the chairperson of the integrity committee of the Kitale Bar Bench. So I'm not new to teamwork.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Evans Misati, would you like to ask some questions?
Thanks so much, Chair. Mr. Ngeyo, I wanted I hope you have an understanding of how IEBC operates through there is the commission and there is the IEBC secretariat. Could you please enlighten the panel your understanding of the roles of the distinct roles between the commission and the secretariat?
The commission is the policy making organ. The secretariat is the administrative wing of the IEBC, headed by the CEO, who is the accounting officer of the organization.
That's all you have?
Have I answered you, sir?
Yes, you have answered it. But I was saying, given the opportunity that you are the chair, you have understood those roles. Maybe from the operation point of view, the secretariat is the one which is, you are always in charge of operations. What would you do different to ensure that the challenges we have been seeing, they do not occur again if you are given an opportunity to serve as a chair of IEBC?
I'm going to be an executive chair if given the opportunity, meaning that I'll be hands-on, and my role and that of the commissioners will be to provide leadership to ensure that there's compliance with governance provisions, and that can be achieved from the onset through proper planning, consultative planning, through cooperation, through putting in place mechanisms and structures so that there are systems which are actually running the organization and the people are basically the instruments operating the systems. So once we have the systems in place, once we have the proper plans, the procurement plans, strategic plans, then it will be very easy to provide leadership and direction.
Thanks, Chair. I think that is for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Evans. Now I will ask Mrs. Fatuma Saman to ask some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Angeiwa,
Yes, madam.
in 2017,
Yes.
it was reported that about 7% of women candidates experienced some form of gender violence during the election period. So if appointed to the position of chair, IEBC, what measures would you put in place to make elections safer and more inclusive for women and marginalized communities?
We need to have a robust enforcement of the codes of conduct. Both the party and the IEBC codes of conduct. The parties need to undertake more roles and be more proactive in terms of protecting the rights of women. Of course, our society is still gender biased against women, and insofar as the electorate and the general public is concerned, as we have said, communication has been lacking. We need to improve on the strategies on how we communicate, sensitize, and obligate the public how to put in place measures to ensure that parties, especially parties, political parties, put in place measures to protect their members who are women and other disadvantaged groups. And the Commission should be given more powers to enforce the codes of conduct. The penalties which are in place currently have not been effective. They have been there from 2013 or even before. But still the issues which we sought to address in order to realize a free and fair elections still persist, especially in terms of gender and other disadvantaged groups.
Thank you.
Bwana Ngewa, do you think that we have had free and fair elections in Kenya?
You know, we are growing democracy. And looking at history and comparative analysis, we are not doing so badly. But this is not where we are supposed to be, especially after the promulgation of our Constitution 2010. We needed to have made more progress than we have done. So to some extent, looking at even the post-election disputes, the percentage of the disputes which come out apart from the presidential elections, the percentage points to a fact that we are growing as a democracy. But if we put in place proper mechanisms, proper enforcement, compliance mechanisms, then there's hope, and we are doing fairly well.
Okay, you've talked of petitions. What are the other indicators of free and fair elections?
Literally speaking, one of the indicators will be the number of petitions that come out, disputes that come out after the election. Another pointer is how much we are progressing in terms of realization of representation of the less privileged groups, how much we are growing in terms of the elected, for example, women leaders, the elected persons with disabilities, how many youth we are electing, how many marginalized groups, persons from marginalized groups we are electing. That could be another indicator.
Thank you very much. Allow me to now move on to Mr. Nicodemus Bore, next to you there, to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Rangeiwa, when you are introducing yourself, you indicated that you ran for a senatorial seat in 2013.
Yes, sir.
And thereafter, I think you lost during the nomination?
No, I lost in the general election.
And you went ahead and petitioned the win against you?
No, the petition emanated from our party primaries, but escalated all the way to the High Court.
So I'm talking about the party primaries.
Yes.
When you lost the party primaries,
No, I won the party primaries.
Okay.
It's my opponent who petitioned.
You went ahead and represented yourself in the petition.
Yes.
And you even went ahead and asked the court not to to prevent your opponent from submitting his papers.
Yes.
And so while this shows a very strong competitive spirit, how do you reconcile the assertiveness with the values of ethical leadership and fairness in a democratic process?
Just repeat yourself, sir.
While that showed that it was very competitive.
Yeah.
And the decision you took, went to court and asked the court not to allow your opponent to present his papers.
Yes.
So was that ethical?
No, what happened? I realized my opponent had been given a certificate, yet I'd won the nominations. My opponent bought a certificate, yet I was the winner of the nominations. So the lawyer in me told me to prevent him from submitting that forged certificate, because he would otherwise have presented it to the returning officer.
And looking back, would you say your pursuit of nomination respected both the spirit and letter of democracy, of party democracy?
In that particular case?
Yes.
Yeah, we did the nominations. The voting was undertaken across the county, in all the 5 sub-counties. And the tallies showed that I was the winner. Yes, it was very democratic. We campaigned and our members voted.
The position you are seeking as the chair of IEBC, part of its role is become an arbiter in cases where sometimes you see IEBC forms tribunals to sort out cases, especially emanating from primaries and also I think some elections. And you are part of the process of forming such tribunals. How will you demonstrate leadership and uphold ethical principles in resolving these disputes?
In the formation of the tribunal?
And the leadership thereafter?
The tribunal is a statutory body with a specific mandate. And therefore, as chairperson, I am not involved in the resolution of the dispute. I only enforce the decision of the tribunal.
Thank you, Chair.
On that particular matter, that last question, in the last elections, we had how many presidential candidates? Were they 3 or 4?
We had?
How many presidential candidates did we have?
In the last election, 2022?
Yes.
I can't remember the exact number, but there were a number.
Okay, there is one aspirant who sought to present his papers. It's a person living with a disability. And he eventually fail to present his papers to IEBC and did not run in the elections. And if you follow those elections, what will you say about the fairness of IEBC or the chairman of IEBC in how that particular candidate was treated?
I don't remember the specific case, but there are timelines.
This was Ruben Kigame.
There are timelines on how and when to present the nomination papers. So if he was out of the timelines, then there's little that could be done. But I doubt whether they could have, if he was within the timelines, why the nomination papers will be refused to be accepted.
Thank you. Professor Adam Solo, please.
Thank you, Chair. Wanange, you are looking at your CV. One sees that from September 2024 to date, you have held the position of Chairperson Kitale Bench Ethics and Integrity Committee. Is that right?
Yes, Professor.
Based on that, what will you tell this panel that have been your key achievements and milestones in the enforcement of leadership and integrity?
I've been at the forefront in matters of ethics and integrity. In fact, that position of chairperson, I attained it through a democratic process of the branch law society members. We were subjected to a democratic process to come up with a chairperson who is known and believed to be of undoubted integrity. That's how I earned that position. In fact, that committee was the first of its kind in the country. The then presiding judge of the High Court, because of our zeal to fight the vice of corruption, we came up, it was an informal committee arrangement. But thank God, after he was even elected as a commissioner at the JSC, now the JSC has issued guidelines and made those required that every bar bench in the country comes up with a similar committee. So that was a brainchild of the then judge and myself.
You're seeking to be the chairman of IEBC, a body that has gone through a lot of palpitations, either resignations or forced resignations, divided decisions in the glare of the world. What makes Ngeyua say that I'm the solution? Give me that chair and you shall cure all these challenges that the Commission has had. What is in your arsenal that one is not able to see through your CV? What is it that you bring on board?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The liberty we are enjoying, Honorable Chair and members, was fought for by some people. And you even recognize those persons in our preamble to the Constitution. There were people even during the colonial period, Kenyans, who offered their lives that we may be free. In the process of our democratic progress, there are people in this country who have offered themselves until we are where we are today in terms of democracy and human rights. And therefore, every generation must have these people. And I believe in my generation, I'm willing to partake of that cause in the defense of our democracy.
I hear you that it is time for a new generation to be at the helm.
Thank you very much. FCP Tanui?
Just a follow-up question from what Professor has put, that it is a time for new generation to take over. So what is it, Manangeyo, the chair of IEBC, vis-a-vis commissioners, what is it that, did you apply for the commissioner?
Yes, I applied for both of them.
You are shortlisted for both?
No, I was shortlisted for the chair.
Yes. So what is it that made you want to be the chairperson? What is it? What is the drive to be the chair? Looking at your generation, as Prof is putting it, what quality or what is the drive for you to be the chair of IEBC?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I confirm that if I was there in 1945, 1952, I would have gone to the forest. If I were there in the 1980s, I would have stood against the single party machinations. And that's why when we were writing even our constitution, where I come from a lowly background in terms of land owning in this country. And I've done a lot. Chapter 5 of the Constitution, if you read my dissertation, LLB dissertation, it has a lot of overtones of my recommendations. So I believe this is the time for those of us who are not there, for those of us who believe in our nationhood, to present ourselves and take up these positions, that perhaps we may make a difference. People have said you will be killed. On social media, everywhere, some people are saying even don't go for that interview. But there are some people who must present themselves. We have our young people who go to foreign missions, they come back in coffins. If I didn't have impaired hearing, I would have joined the Air Force. I believe I have what it takes, the stamina, the resolve, to undertake this position.
Thank you for that resoluteness. Lastly, assuming you get this position and you are the chairperson of IEBC, you will find that one of your fellow commissioners is leaking confidential commission information to one of the political parties that are involved in the upcoming elections. What would you do?
We have a code of conduct. We have the constitutional values and principles of governance. We have the Leadership and Integrity Act. So despite the fact that a commissioner is independent, if he is doing that, then we shall take the necessary measures of making the necessary recommendations to the oversight body, that's Parliament, to undertake the necessary process of removing them.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I go back to Professor Adams. Yes, some quick questions to you.
Thank you again, Wanangeiwa. You did tell us here that you know the geography of this country nearly 80%.
For the counties, almost 100%. For the constituencies, around 80%.
For the counties, 100%.
Yes.
What is the smallest county in terms of landmass in Kenya?
Lamu.
Landmass, not population. Landmass.
In terms of landmass, Mombasa.
Which county has the highest number of electoral wards? And statistically, there are how many?
I can't tell the number of the wards, but it should be Nairobi.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know, Linda, do you have some question? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ngeiwa, if you were given this position of the chair and you were in an election period and there was some sort of political interference, how would you demonstrate leadership and uphold ethical principles in that kind of a scenario?
Interference at what level, madam?
When you're in an election period, it's an election year, you are conducting elections, probably a scenario at the Bomas of Kenya, and there was political interference. How would you uphold your ethical principles in resolving whatever environment you'd find yourself in at that time?
I remain independent at all times. I remain impartial at all times. As a national returning officer, presidential returning officer, I have only one singular duty: to declare the will of the people.
Thank you, Chair.
Since 2024 September, when you took over as chairperson of Kitale Bench Ethics and Integrity Commission, Committee Chair, what would you say have been your achievements or aspirations in that role?
We now have enhanced reporting of corruption incidents. We now have...
enhanced meaning, what are the percentages you are calling enhanced?
I have not come with the statistics, but previously there were very few reports by the affected the victims, but now the reporting by victims is often. We are also witnessing reduced instances of corruption reports. Initially, there was no reporting. You would hear about a case after so long a time, but now we get reports, but the number has somehow gone down.
Okay. You say you don't have statistics.
I did not look at the file before I came. It's under lock key at the court. I'm not the one who keeps it.
What was the average before you took over?
Before you took over, there were numerous. I can't give the exact numbers, but it was common practice. Now it is becoming not common.
Okay, thank you very much. We have come to the end of our questions to you. And once again, allow me to reiterate that we are grateful that you spent time to come, engage with us, and we are extremely grateful that you have spent your time in this manner. I don't know whether you have any question for us or you have anything, comment that you'd like to make. Kindly. Edward.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I don't have a question, but I just also want to appreciate the committee, the panel, for inviting me, and particularly for being true to our Constitution, especially in terms of Articles 54 and 56. I'm privileged that a person of my caliber from such a background, I'm able to be given a hearing by this auspicious panel. I wish you well, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much. Kindly remember